I'm Sarah Fox and I'm a contracts geek. In fact, in particular, I have favourite clauses. I'm a real fan. Nothing to do with the heatwave of liquidated damages provisions. Now, liquidated damages provision entitles one party to effectively charge the other one a fixed pre-agreed amount if that party breaches their contract. So typically on construction contracts they're used for delay. The Guardian once reported that on Wembley Stadium when it was being built, the liquidated damages were £120,000 for every day the project was late. But you can have liquidated damages not just for delay, you can have them for things like poor performance. So in the MF1 form of contract, if the performance, for example, of a plant that was meant to produce 1,000 widgets a day is below a certain level, like Jim and his hammer could do it quicker, then you could reject the works. But if it's acceptable, say 975 widgets a day, then you take liquidated damages for the fact you won't make as much profit from the plant as you were expecting. And you see this when you park in a car park. If you overstay your welcome, you will pay a fixed charge. It's a liquidated damages provision. It's not a fine and it's not a penalty. These are often private contracts between parties. And one of those cases went before the court, in fact, to do with overstaying in a car park. And the court said as long as the amount is not extravagant and unconscionable, then you can recover it. So the hotel rooms who want to charge you $200 if you smoke in a hotel room, not that I suggest you smoke anyway, but if you do, and you smoke, and you've accepted the term that says you won't smoke in the room, they can charge you 200 quid. That's it. They don't have to prove that it cost them 200 quid to clean the room and clean the air and make it smoke free. That's the deal. So it's written in, it's easy, you don't need proof that you've lost any money, you don't need proof that you've lost that amount of money. As long as they have breached their contract, you can recover it. So it'd be really useful to use on, for example, payment provisions. Instead of having these sort of horrible condition precedent clauses, which say if you don't provide your invoice, then you're not entitled to be paid at all. You could say if you don't provide your invoice in the correct form or with our purchase order number, we'll charge you 50 quid, because that represents the administrative cost to us of sorting out your problems. So liquidated damages provision entitles you to agree an amount, pounds, shillings, pence, dollars, yen or whatever, for a specific breach of contract and then deduct it. So if they don't do it, you don't pay them or you recover it from them. It's as simple as that. And really, there's nothing to be afraid of because they're easier to do than suing them through the courts. It's a good nudge or a good lever if you've got problems with somebody who's constantly failing to meet your payment requirements. And it's clean and crisp and simple. There is no debate whether or not it's the right amount. It just is. You've signed it in the contract. Now this came, one of the cases to do with this was to do with a luxury yacht where Mr. Healy agreed to buy a multi-million-pound yacht. And between the two parties, they were a little suspicious of boat builders that he might change his mind. Well, you know, when you've got 100 million quid just under the sofa hanging around waiting to be spent on a luxury item, then maybe you're the sort of person who has changes of mind. They agreed that if he terminated the contract within the first period before the first instalment was due, they'd pay a quarter of the price of the yacht. And he did. He changed his mind. Mr. Healy didn't want his Azimuth Bonetti yacht after all. And they built him for 25 million quid or thereabouts. And the court said, well, that was the deal. You entered into it knowingly and willingly. You signed up to it. You even negotiated this clause at length. We're not going to let you get away from that. So remember, if you've written it into the contract and they've signed it, that's pretty much a done deal. The courts are really unhappy with people who want to try and avoid these sort of clauses through technical legal arguments or claiming that it's a penalty or that it wasn't a genuine pre-estimate and harking back to a case 100 years ago. Courts have basically said, unless it's extravagant and unconscionable, you signed it, you pay it. If you don't want to pay it, don't breach the contract. It's as simple as that. So think about how you could use a liquidated damages provision in one of your contracts to solve one of those kind of icky issues that's kind of too minor to go to court over, but causes you so much pain in your business. Think about it. Think about how you can use these and how you too could become a fan of liquidated damages provisions.